I said, did you talk to Ken Phillips first? He goes, no, I thought I'd give you first crack at it. I'm like, you didn't answer my question. Did you talk to Ken Phillips first? He goes, no, I'll talk to him. And he comes up to me a couple of days later. He goes, I have bad news. I went, oh, great. He goes, yeah, he's got other engagements. I said, okay. And I said, but I don't want to get in the middle of, I don't want to send people down a rabbit trail on something. I want to stick with what you've been preaching on. He goes, so you want me to come up with the outline? I said, yes, please. Absolutely. So he come up with this outline, and he says to me, he goes, hey, you're going to be part 2. I'm like, okay. He goes, we're going to do part 1. He goes, I'm going to preach part 1, and then you're going to preach part 2. I said, okay. I said, that's easy enough. I said, so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to recap what Pastor actually talked about last week, and then I'll get into this week's sermon. So the passage that he's based all of this on, these 2 parts on, have been Matthew 5:5, which is actually found in your notes. It says, God blesses those who are gentle. The whole earth will belong to them. The first point there is gentleness is strength under control. Benefits of being gentle. Gentleness diffuses conflict. How many have actually been a part of that before? Somebody comes up to you and they're just raring to go, and you just kill them with kindness, right? You just look and it's just what just happened? They're looking at you like you've got 5 heads. It's what just happened? They wanted to come up and just start this whole war over something that was probably really stupid to begin with, and you just killed them with kindness. You killed them with gentleness, and it diffuses the whole thing. Gentleness disarms critics. Anybody on social media knows that. Gentleness is persuasive, and gentleness is attractive. Meaning, they might want what you have. You might show them gentleness, and they'll be like, hey, I've never seen that before in somebody. They might want that. So this morning, we're going to get into part 2. And as you can probably see on the notes and everything, forgot to turn the PowerPoint on. Sorry, Courtney. There's gentleness communicates love. The first passage that I'm going to read is actually Ephesians 6:4. It says, fathers, do not irritate and provoke your children to anger. Do not exasperate them to resentment, but rear them tenderly in the training and discipline and counsel of the Lord. I don't know if I've ever shared this, or Tori has ever shared this with any of you, but a couple years ago, we were told we would never be able to have children. And God still works miracles. He's definitely in that business of working miracles. And I will be honest with you, it was hard on us. But I will be honest with you, He has given us, I don't even know the number. He's given us a number of nieces, nephews. Dan and Jasmine have their 2 boys. I love them like they were my own. I'd kill for them. I'd take a bullet for them. All of them. And I love them like they are my own. And I'll be honest with you, we had when your nephews get to a certain age and they ask you to do something, and they're like, hey, you want to play in a dodgeball tournament? That actually happened, by the way. My oldest nephew, his name is Matthew, he's my brother's oldest. He approached me and he goes, hey, how would you like to play in a dodgeball tournament? And he did it face to face, so he knows I can't say no. You know what I mean? So I'm standing there, I start stretching, and he starts looking at me like, that's a yes. I'm like, my body's telling me no, but yeah, sure, why not? Well, the whole part of the gentleness part here is we ended up losing, and when it comes to sports, my family is very competitive. And gentleness kind of goes right out the window. And we lost, and I saw that anger and that non-gentleness, if that's a word, come out of him. And I was looking at him going, please don't tell me I looked that stupid when I got angry. But that's what it does. It stirs up anger. Your gentleness kind of goes away when certain things happen. And like we just read in that passage, it says, do not provoke your children to wrath. The only negative command in this passage tells parents to avoid provoking their children by exaggerating their faults or discouraging them with unreasonable demands. Small provocations can create major explosions. The Greek word for fathers is also found in Hebrews 11:23, where it is translated parents. So moms, don't think you're out of this one. This instruction, therefore, applies to mothers as well as fathers. Now, the passage they're talking about there was referring to when Moses got shipped down the river in the Nile. He got put in a basket, got shipped down the river, and was later found by Pharaoh's daughter. And they took him in as their own. The other passage of scripture that's there is Colossians 3:19. And it says, husbands, love your wives and be gentle with them. Now, I want to read the footnote to this one. As I shared with you before, my wife and I are celebrating 14 years of marriage on July 4th. And we've had our ups and downs. And like I just shared with you before, it was hard to get that. It was hard to get that diagnosis from the doctor, being told that we would never be able to have parents. I mean, we just bought a 5-bedroom house in Plymouth, planned on filling it, and yeah, you know, and but it definitely made us stronger. And nobody really knew. I mean, unless we told them. Nobody could really tell what we were going through because we had put God first. And we were gentle about it. We put God first and said, you know, no matter what, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put God first. But I wanted to read the footnote to this. Although Paul could have instructed husbands to specifically encourage, support, cherish, provide for, honor, and be faithful to their wives, he chose the one word that encompasses and surpasses all these things: love. Dr. David Jeremiah paints a good picture there because he could have been a lot more specific. That verse could have been a lot longer than just, husbands, be there for your wives. Love your wives. And that's the word he chose. He chose the word love. He chose to use the word love because it's a universal word for every relationship, not just marriage or boyfriend, girlfriend, but your relationship between your kids, your mom and dad, aunts and uncles, friends. Because that's what that word means. It means to be there for one another. It means to support them, encourage them, provide for, help them along the way. You never know when you have a friend in need. The second point there is gentleness is a prerequisite to leadership. Proverbs 11:16, the passage there is, a woman of gentle grace will be respected. Now I know in this passage it goes on to say, and men who are ruthless will not be. I'm paraphrasing there. I don't remember the exact words of the rest of that verse, but men and women can be leaders, but only the gentle will be respected. They will also be the leaders God designed them to be. The last couple of years we've gone over some changes. Those who are kind of new to the church, I'll just take a second to explain this. We are a board-run church. We are not a pastor-run church. We're not an elder-run church. We are a board-run church, and that means that we have a board of, we have a board chair, a vice board chair, we have a treasurer, secretary. You name it, we probably have it. It's part of our board, okay? I am privileged to be part of that board. As an elder, you serve with one term is 3 years. And I believe this is my 4th term. It's my 3rd or 4th term as elder here at this church. And there have been a lot of changes over the last, let's say, 5 years. But we have the people in place because God knew what leaders he wanted to be part of this church because of their gentleness, their compassion to be able to be here and serve the church. I don't know if you've noticed, those of you who have been here for a long period of time, we have a new sound system, and those of you who were here for the old one, be thankful we have the new one. When the new one got installed by Alex Betzel, he, on the pillars going back here, on the archways going back, were the old speakers. And a lot of them did not work. And that is why Sunday after Sunday, when I sat back in the running the sound, I kind of had to have Pastor cranked up a little bit higher than usual because half the speakers were not working. So as you can see, we have a lot of, technology hanging from the ceiling. Pray they don't fall. And then recently, those of you who don't know Jason Wozmansky, the man is a genius. He's probably watching, him and Debbie and Howie and Stephanie are probably watching from their campsite as well, but we are just so blessed. We have these blink cameras. I don't know, you got one hanging there, one in the back, for security purposes, that's all they're for. And they're all over the church. We have surveillance cameras 24/7. There's new siding down this. I don't know if you noticed on the back end of the church. God has put leaders in this church because they knew their heart. They knew that they wanted to serve in some way, shape, or form. And God led them to this church to be a leader here in this church. And because of their gentleness, we respect them. That's what this passage literally means. Men and women can be leaders, but only the gentle ones are going to be respected. You can stand up here, and I could stand up here and just be ruthless, and none of you, let's be honest, none of you would respect me. You'd probably all get up and walk out, and I would deserve that. But because of our gentleness, he puts leaders in place, and because of that gentleness, we're respected. And God has designed them to be the leader that he wanted them to be. Numbers 12:3 says, Moses was a very meek and gentle man. In fact, he was more gentle than anyone else on the face of the earth. Moses was special. Moses was very special. He started off his life being put into a basket by his mother, realizing that he was going to be killed and sent down the Nile River. And later, he had a speech impediment. But God chose him. And Moses always, he would look up and go, why? I can't talk. I'm not the best speaker. Go find somebody else. Go find somebody else who doesn't have a speech impediment, who's comfortable doing this. And God said, no, you may have every excuse in the book, but I'm going to use that to glorify him. Because of Moses' heart, he was a gentle man. As the passage says so right there. He was more gentle than anyone else on the face of the earth. That's the amplified version right there. We have all these different versions out there today. I'm only used to, I have New King James. So like when I'm reading this, I'm looking over here and I'm going, okay, where am I? But I love that though, because he was more gentle than anyone else on the face of the earth. Even with his speech impediment, even with the life that he had before, God still wanted to use him. Now you may be sitting there today thinking to yourself like, hey, I'm not that good of a speaker. I get stage fright. I do this, I do that. But God knows your heart. And he will take your excuses and use them for his good. The third point, gentleness is a witness to unbelievers. Titus 3:2. Believers should never speak evil of anyone, nor be quarrelsome. Instead, they should be gentle and show courtesy to everyone. We should never want to speak ill of anyone. That's what being a Christian is. We should never want to speak ill of anyone. Dr. David Jeremiah has a really cool footnote on this that I wanted to read. Sorry, everybody. I know I'm a lot like Moses right now with all my No, nothing? Okay. It says, gentleness, humility, a peaceable and submissive spirit. All these virtues are needed, not just in relationship to rulers and authorities, but in all of a Christian's interactions with others. If these qualities can be found anywhere, it should be in God's people. I'm going to read that last part just so it sinks in. If these qualities can be found anywhere, it should be in God's people. I run into a lot of people while I'm out working. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a mailman. I'm out of the Wilkes-Barre post office. I'll get questions out of the way now. No, I don't have your package. No, I don't have your check. It's probably lost somewhere. I'm just saying. But I run into a lot of people. And, they only see me, I'm what they call a floater. So I cover 5 different routes in the office. And so these people only see me once a week. But in my mind, even though they only see me once a week, they should see something in me that says, hey, what's up with that guy? He seems different. He doesn't seem like anybody I've ever really met before. I normally tell people when they see me coming, I don't want to be that jerk of a mailman. I work with a lot of them, trust me. I know I do. Some of you are sitting there probably right now going, yeah, whenever I see my mailman coming, I go back in the house. Like, I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be that kind of guy. I want to be that person where they see me coming. They're like, hey, how are you? And I'm very sociable, I guess is the best word to say. I don't care if it slows me down. I might be the only human interaction some of these people see in a day. I don't know what their situations are. But like Dr. David Jeremiah said, if these qualities can be found anywhere, in anyone, anywhere, it should be in a Christian. Because people should look at us and, like I said earlier, and just be like, hey, what's different about that person? I want what they have. And you never know, it might start a conversation. 1 Peter 3:15, always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect. We live in a world today that social media shoves so much. You know what? I'm just going to say it. They shove a lot of crap down our throats. They do. I try to distance myself as much as possible from social media, but it's true. Social media does a lot of that. Media in general. I think there's only been one good thing that I ever heard. Like I said earlier, I'm a sports fan. Years ago, there was a coach for the Indianapolis Colts who was going through cancer. And like I said, the media is terrible. They will try to do whatever they can to just be first. They won't even try to do research. They won't do anything. They just want to be first. They want to be the first ones to get their message out. And I remember this coach for the Indianapolis Colts. He was diagnosed with cancer, and he held a press conference, and he looked out at the media and said, look, don't bother my family. Whatever news we give you, that's it. Don't bother my family. We're going through a hard enough time as it is. Just be happy with whatever information we give you. A few months later, this same coach holds a press conference, and he got really emotional when he said, thank you. He looked out at everybody that was there, CBS Sports, ESPN, Fox Sports, everybody that was there, and said, thank you. You may have showed some discomfort, and you may have shown some, no, you need to give us more information. But in the end, you were happy with what we gave you, and that was it. That's been the only time I've ever heard the media actually be that way. And but we should always be prepared to give an answer with gentleness and respect. And the last point here, gentleness is a witness to unbelievers. Oh, sorry, my bad. That was the point we just went over. Gentleness makes you more like Jesus. Sorry, my fault. I'm already getting ahead of myself. Yeah, I know you're watching. My brother-in-law just sent me a text message. Wrap it up, buddy. Let's go. I'm working on it. Gentleness, he probably knew I was going to read that too. Gentleness makes you more like Jesus. Matthew 11:28 and 29. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest in your souls. This passage actually last night, I didn't know. I was going over the sermon outline and everything, and there's a song that the Gaither Vocal Band, if you don't know who they are, I'm sorry. Bill Gaither is like a staple in like Southern gospel industry. Mark Lowry once made a joke that he gets everything on tape, so when Jesus comes back, Bill's going to make sure that he's got a video camera pointed towards heaven, making sure that he's got it all on tape when he comes back. But the Gaither Vocal Band sings a song called "He Will Carry You." Go on YouTube later and look that up. It's a great song. But I think that verse really speaks for itself. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. The New King James says, all you are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. If we're all honest with each other this morning, I think we're all just a little tired. Whether it be from work, whether it be from things that are going on in this world today. You might be a mom or a dad and just have toddlers, Dan and Jasmine, and just be really tired. But this isn't, I want to say this isn't really like an invitation. It's more like a command. Because this is Jesus speaking in this passage. And he's saying, come to me. I'm not a judgmental God. I'm a gentle God. I will help you. Let me help you. Let me give you rest. That's when we're only going to find rest, is when we rely on God and his gentleness to be there for us. Galatians 5:23, the fruit of the Spirit is gentleness. There's a lot more than just gentleness, but that's the one, because of the passage that we've been focusing on, that's the one that's listed here this morning. The fruit of the Spirit is gentleness. Like I said, there are actually 7 fruits of the Spirit. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. 7 fruits of the Spirit? Yep, that's what we're going with. My watch is probably going to go off here and tell me how many there really is. 9. See, I was close. Paul lists 9 character traits that the Holy Spirit produces in a believer's life. Jesus Christ is the supreme example of every spiritual quality, having embodied the fruit of the Spirit perfectly, because each one is inextricably linked to who he is. The list of spiritual fruit falls into 3 categories: the upward qualities, love, joy, peace; the outward qualities, long-suffering, kindness, goodness; and the inward qualities, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. The fruit of the Spirit is gentleness. And then if you go back to the passage I opened up with this morning in Matthew 5:5, that links this all back together. God blesses those who are gentle. The whole earth will belong to them. I'm glad that Pastor decided to use this word, gentleness, because there are a lot of things just being gentle that you never know you could do. Just by being gentle. To wrap everything up this morning, There's 3 simple ways to practice gentleness with God's help this week. When somebody serves you, be understanding and not demanding. Be thankful. Don't wish that they would do more. Be thankful and be appreciative. They didn't have to, whoever's helping you didn't have to do what they did. So be thankful. When someone disagrees with you, be tender without surrender. That's a hard one. Today's society, we're allowed to have freedom of speech, but only if what I'm about to say has already been said or that person agrees with. We're not allowed to have our own opinions anymore, unfortunately. And that's the world we live in today. So be gentle, be tender without surrender. When someone disappoints you, be gentle, not judgmental. When someone disappoints you, be gentle, not judgmental. And who can I practice gentleness with this week? Might be a family member, might be a coworker, might be a friend, maybe someone you just run into on the street. Maybe you didn't like the way you pulled into a parking spot. Be gentle. Don't be judgmental. That is all I've got for today. Thank you very much for listening and being attentive. I appreciate it. Pastor, thank God we'll be back next week. Well, let's close in a word of prayer, shall we? Dear Heavenly Father, I pray that you would help us to be gentle this week and not be judgmental. Lord, you call us to be gentle. As Dr. David Jeremiah said, if there's one quality in a person that they should find, it should be gentleness. And it should be easy to find that in a Christian. And I pray, Lord, that you would help us just to be gentle. Lord, with everything with everything that happens to us this week, I pray that you would help us to look to you and to remember just to be gentle. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.